Hey guys, it's Seyorias. I know this is not the type of stream that you were expecting. For example, I combed my hair, I'm not wearing headphones, and it's been almost a month since I last streamed. But I feel like the topic of today, especially when it comes to something that we all use, because if you're watching this live stream, at least everyone here, I'm assuming, has heard of the platform Twitch and is at least familiar with everything going on with the TwitchCon situation. And I think this is my chance to be a little bit more open about my honest feelings about everything and how I am very disappointed with the way this top streamer was handled, their situation. And you guys already know the details. I'm not going to continue to light the fire for clicks. I'm not even going to put the streamer's name because we all know who the streamer is. And it sucks for her because I've seen so many channels just milking this. And some of them are missing the point of like what she really wants, because they more are talking about trying to take down Twitch as opposed to focusing on the issues that came up. Which of course Twitch is at fault. Twitch is very much had the responsibility, and they dropped it when it was when they really needed to have the security there. And I've heard things of like people were already seeing some issues arise from last year's TwitchCon, and to see none of it addressed, and clearly you're seeing it, you know, full force happening now. The consequences of what happens when you have poor management when it comes to running these conventions. And as someone who has been to a fair share of conventions, I've seen great security. I also know how chaotic it can be at conventions. I won't say I've been sort of like an avid con goer, but I have been to at least a handful, so I know what it kind of looks like, including lines, security. And I'll just start by saying this. As someone who, at one point, because I stream, my dream goal would be sort of after I accumulate and become big enough on Twitch through hard work, you know, being consistent, posting videos all day, which did not happen. That's on me. You know, eventually I get to a point where I have a large enough fan base where I can go out to TwitchCon and maybe meet some of you guys. Maybe not on a panel because I'm not at that size yet. I don't even think I'm going to get to that size even now. But, you know, at least as like a guest, an attendee. And if I run into you guys, you're like, oh, I recognize you, because my fan base would be so niche, it'd be sort of like a cool interaction. But nowadays, I feel like that's something you don't want, especially with just how that situation unfolded and the fact that, you know, even big streamers having their own security not being safe at this convention is just a huge glaring issue. And people have already gone into it. I'm not gonna repeat the same points that everyone has already said, because at this point it's just adding more to basically what you guys already know, right? And that is TwitchCon is bad, and the security was in part due the lack of security presence there was their fault. And it's just unfortunate. And I know that right now making this video, especially with that spicy thumbnail, it may not look good for me in the future, in case I want to build a bridge with Twitch in the future. But right now, the reason why I made that thumbnail and the reason why I'm doing this stream is mostly due in part because right now I don't want that kind of relationship with Twitch. If Twitch invites me out to its events, I actually don't feel like going, because if that's how they're treating the attendees, the people going to the panels, the guests, I don't want to support that kind of practice, and I don't want to encourage anyone to go out and go to TwitchCon for their safety and mine. So I feel like I wanted to make this statement, not necessarily burning a bridge, but instead of just harping on Twitch, because again, we've already said, everyone said what needs to be said. We all know that, you know, we're in a really bad state when it comes to Twitch, not only with just TwitchCon, but even the platform has been declining over the years because of some mistakes due to management. This is more of just hopefully a wake-up call to anyone at Twitch, anyone who was there at the convention, who was running the convention, who has any semblance of power. This is coming from someone, I know my voice may not be big. I don't have anyone actually watching me right now, so I'm even smaller than small creators. But this is coming from someone who has tried Twitch, who has seen success through a fun raid, but also hasn't had anyone watch him consistently, and also due in part due to my negligence, because I went on hiatus. I have been inconsistent with my schedule. I am aware of this, but as someone who's been using the platform, who multi-streams, but has an affinity for Twitch because of, I've seen what the community has done. I've seen the great moments that have been recorded on YouTube where they clip it, and it's all these fun things of like celebrations coming together. Like, you know, for example, like any big achievement with just like raids or bits or breaking records with like Kai Cenat, you know, all that is amazing. And the fact that we have to stop that to focus on glaring issues when it shouldn't even be the creators like involvement. We shouldn't have to get involved. You should already be handling this. It goes to show the state of affairs. And again, my main point of today's stream, especially when it's my first one back, first one back in a while, is more of sort of a call to action. And I hope if anyone on Twitch somehow stumbles upon the stream, or, you know, someone stumbles upon the stream on YouTube that has any amount of power over at Twitch, they sort of take in what I say and try to make the appropriate changes, especially after this incident. Because if you don't do something drastic, I've already heard it from tons of people, especially big creators, they're not going to go back to TwitchCon. And if big creators don't come back to TwitchCon, you don't have a TwitchCon. There is no point, because you don't give resources already to your small creators and mid-sized creators. You really just give most of the resources to the big creators, because you want them bringing in more people to the platform in terms of viewers. But if they go away, what's keeping people on the platform when you have alternatives like YouTube? And I dare to say it, I hate to say it, but Kick. The fact that Kick is seeing more success in terms of viewers heading to their platforms, especially after this whole the whole bot situation over on Twitch, that's not a good. And Twitch used to be the better platform. It was never perfect. I'm gonna admit it. Twitch was never had its flaws, because Twitch has had its mistakes. But I feel like recently they've been making some pretty big glaring mistakes that are costly, and that's what's affecting the platform. And if they don't do anything, if they have nothing to contribute or change after these incidents and what's happening on the platform, you won't have a Twitch anymore. And maybe I will migrate over to YouTube, or maybe I'll even consider Kick. As much as I don't like Kick, maybe multi-streaming to Kick, because so far I thought Twitch was better than Kick, but it looks like now, at least in this current state of affairs, Kick is looking better. And I'm not talking about creators, because Kick streamers are just some of the worst people on the planet. Just on the online space, I think. I'm talking just as a platform as a whole, giving back to the creators that contribute to the platform. Kick is looking better. And I hate to say it, but it's true. It's true, and that shouldn't be a case. That you should be rewarding your streamers, you should be protecting your streamers, and you should be cultivating your community, not the opposite. So it's that's just kind of like where I stand on the situation. And if this burns a bridge with Twitch in the future, I hope it doesn't, because I'm not trying to use this as a chance to kick down Twitch, because I love Twitch. From everything that Twitch has done, like this hasn't been sort of an issue that has been throughout Twitch's entire run. Twitch has had its golden age. Twitch has had good moments. But right now, I don't see it. And it's only because of more people speaking out and videos I've seen of streamers speaking out, that I feel like we will get that change. It's just going to take some time. And I don't know. I usually don't make these types of videos. I'm not a drama guy. I'm not the type of person. That's not who I want to be when it comes to streaming. Because, and this has been sort of like my ethos, especially after a difficult point in my life where I am the biggest fairy tale fan, if you don't know. And one thing that makes me so appreciative of the anime and why I care so deeply about it, and the way I was able to change my life because of fairy tale, and I've mentioned this before, is because of the idea of what I consider to be the power of friendship. And that is making sure that, you know, your friends, the people in your circle, your community, all is, you know, you're there for each other. It is very wholesome. We're all here for a good time. And if someone is not having a good time, even if it's one person, I want to sort of, you know, step on the brakes and just check on them. And making sure maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe, you know, the jokes we're making, everyone's not vibing with. So that's always been sort of my ethos, is I'm making sure everyone has a good time, because if one person isn't having a good time, I'm not having a good time. So it's difficult. It really is, because as someone who streams on Twitch, I can't promise that anymore, especially with the fate of the platform, because now it's just looking tough. People are leaving, people are not watching Twitch anymore, and it's only going to be a matter of time, if nothing is done, that I could see potentially Twitch going away. And I don't want that. I really don't. Because, you know, I want, so here's the thing. I want Twitch to be great. I want Twitch to be a place where everyone can feel welcome to follow a streamer that they resonate with and can support, and therefore watch the streamer gives back to them by being entertaining and making their day. And especially with someone who is in his early 20s, who, you know, out of college is now working a full-time job. There are days where your job is tough. And as someone who's recently been getting a lot of promotions lately, I thought, you know, just the ease of getting more of a paycheck and not having to work as much and relaxing a little bit more by having more of a managerial position would at least make things a little bit better for my mental health. But I'm going to be honest, the mental toll that promotions have and just gain responsibility actually have the opposite effect. It is getting a lot tougher, even though you may not be doing a lot of things hands-on. In terms of you're not doing a lot more physical labor, it's more managerial, like delegating and such. It's still a lot of work, and you will feel burnout, like I have recently after getting my promotions. But I want to say this. Twitch is an escape. Streaming is an escape from that whenever you go to your favorite streamer or just watch clips on YouTube. And I cannot imagine what that will look like if, you know, your escapism, a place where you can, you know, go away and just forget about work. Just forget about the struggles you had earlier in the day and just watch someone be goofy playing video games, you know? I feel like if Twitch doesn't become that anymore for people, then there's no point. And I don't want that. I want people to come to my channel and have a good time. I want people to, you know, have a community where they feel welcome, especially after, like I said, tough days at work or tough days at school if you're still in school. So, yeah, it just sucks, man. And I've heard so many creators that I watch talk about it, big creators, and I'm happy at least the conversation is being had. But I also want to reiterate, this is more of a criticism to push for change at Twitch. At the leadership level, at the level where you can make these changes possible. Because I don't want Twitch to fail. I don't. Some people do. I don't. I just want them to change it so maybe not next year, but if they make drastic enough changes, hopefully people will want to come back to the platform again. And hopefully, maybe not next year. I want to give it some time, but in the next 2 years, maybe like 2027, we can have a TwitchCon again. As long as they make sure security is a priority, making sure that, you know, the security that is present, which is one of the things that irks me, is actually making sure they're actually doing their job too. That is also important. Making sure the security that they're hiring. Or, you know, maybe Twitch goes on a limb because they have contract work. Sever the contracts. If you want to show goodwill to your creators, sever the contract with the security companies from this year's con and make new contracts with independents, or hire your own security team. It may be more expensive, it may be more costly, but in the long run, it would do so much for the community because it shows you're taking action. And by doing nothing right now, even with the 30-day ban for the guy who did that thing, that's just ridiculous. People trash talking on Twitch chat have gotten bigger suspensions than this guy. Like that was absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, kind of a first day back, and kind of a serious topic, guys. It's also first thing in the morning, so I'm not like super energized. I'm drinking tea right now. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts there because yeah, Twitch needs to be held accountable, and especially when it comes to female creators. I am also very fortunate for being a dude, you know. It can happen to guys, but I feel like it happens a lot more to female creators, and it sucks. It really sucks, because at the end of the day, I like to look at streamers along the lines of actors. They're just doing a job, they're putting up a show, and if horrible things happen to them, because people think that, oh, we had a connection, because the parasocial relationships online can really reach some really mentally ill individuals. They feel like they have the power, they can do whatever they want, and it sucks, man. It sucks. And I feel for female creators, and I want to advocate for definitely, if there is increased security in future TwitchCons, especially have them around the female creators, because you never know what someone can do, especially when it comes to the online space. Yeah. Wow, that was something that I didn't want to. I didn't think I'd get to this place where I'd be this well, what's the word, this serious, because I usually joke around a lot, but that goes to show the gravity of the situation, I guess. So recently, I'm gonna switch topics right now because I wanna move on from this, but I just wanted to get my 2 cents out. I'll even make this into a video so I can post it, because I feel like it is very important. Unedited too, just to show, like, I just came on, turned on the camera and filmed this. But so recently I came back actually from South Korea. It took me a second. So that was actually something really fun that happened. And this was happening a couple weeks ago. And this is my second time in the country. And I have to say, even though I loved the first time, the second time, maybe it's because I wasn't doing a study abroad program and I had more time to just go around with friends and do the things that we wanted to in the middle of the day. That's why I had so much fun. And it was everything I wanted and so much more. Let me just say, there's two big things I want to mention about South Korea. One is just the people. The people are some of the nicest, friendliest, just they've had the nicest, friendliest interactions I have ever had entering a country. Because I'm a foreigner, I don't speak Korean. The most I speak is 안녕하세요, 감사합니다, and like I can say my name. I'm like 안녕히 Seyorias 입니다. You know, that's the most I can speak with Korean. It's just 3 phrases. I used to know a little bit more, but since I haven't practiced in like a couple years, I'm like brain fried. But I am surprised. I am surprised the amount of people I would go up and try and speak Korean, and they would be so helpful. And they wouldn't speak fluent English, but they speak a lot more English than me. Or they speak more English than I know Korean. And they were able to help me without prejudice. They'd be like, oh, no worries. Just do this. Especially when it comes to... So one thing about Korea is there's tax-free credit. So if you bring your passport to some places, you won't get taxed. So they just have to scan your passport whenever you make purchases. And it's sort of like a fun thing to incentivize more purchases within the country. And so I didn't realize this till later in the trip, so I was at least able to utilize it. But they were so friendly explaining how it works whenever I wanted to buy something. And whenever I was ordering food, even if they didn't know any English, they were still nice enough to try and understand like where I was coming from. And this is something that I want to talk about because recently in the US, I feel like we've actually regressed in not a great way, not in the manhwa type of way. We regressed as a society where I feel like a lot more people, and this is also a product of recent events, and I don't blame anyone for this. This is no one's fault. This is more of a societal issue. A lot more people have short fuses. A lot more people are angrier, more depressed. Just the vibes of the United States right now are not great. And it could be in part due to social media as well. But when I went over to South Korea, I felt like a lot better about the situation because the community was a lot better. And I feel like that is very much lacking, at least in my community in the US. And so that's one big difference I noticed when I went to South Korea is, you know, the work ethic was amazing. The people were like so friendly and nice, especially to me who's a foreigner who doesn't speak any Korean because I'm a dummy. Like and the fact that you know, the entire time I haven't had a single bad experience in the country. That is tough to do because I can't go a single week in the US without a single bad experience. I can go a day in the US without a single bad experience. So yeah. Props to South Korea for being awesome. And props to everyone who's helped us out, especially the Airbnb people we rented from. They went above and beyond. They got us snacks. They helped explain everything. They asked if we had any issues to reach out for them. They gave us like the high quality shampoo and body wash. I felt spoiled. And then we went to this one hotel in Busan, which is the second major city in South Korea. So it's Seoul and then Busan. Busan, we got this really nice like skyscraper view for our room. I was shocked. I took so many photos too. I brought my camera for the first time, like my really expensive one, and I was just snapping away to the point where I almost filled up my SD card. It was phenomenal. So if you ever have any, like, if you want to travel abroad and don't know where, I highly recommend South Korea. And yes, was I okay? And I'll also say this: K-pop Demon Hunters. Do I love K-pop Demon Hunters? Absolutely. But the one thing I will say, and this is sort of my flex compared to a lot of people, is I was already a big fan of K-pop and K-dramas way before K-pop Demon Hunters came out. So I already beat the wave. And I was also a big fan of that before Squid Game dropped. So yeah. Yeah, South Korea's got it. And the experiences we've had, the food, you can't go wrong with the food, the music. And I think my friends and I made the best decision. At the end of the trip, we decided to do the one thing I missed my first time that I went that I regretted the most, which is go to a K-pop concert with friends. And I went to Quer, even though I know the way you're supposed to say is QWER. So if you've heard of QWER, they're a South Korean idol group. And let me actually show you something fun really quick. I mean, I already made a short about it, but I actually bought my first ever light stick. Do you want to see? It's like a megaphone. It's so cool. And so not only just going there early, buying, making sure we got the tickets, which was super efficient, by the way. They have these folders with like physical like tickets. Let me actually pull that out for you. So this is what it looks like. It's called a Rockation. That's sort of like the theme of the concert series. And I have to say, the event staff, the QWER, just everything, the vendors, everyone was super nice and super efficient. Where I went up and they're like, oh, I just need an ID. Whether it was like I think it was my passport, but it also said ID. So I think I could have done either. But I just handed my passport. They looked at my name. They opened a folder and then they just pulled out these cards. I bought 3 for my friends. And then my other friend brought 4. So that way we could all go together. And then they just paid me back later. Just to make it, efficient. And oh my gosh, they were like, okay, here's your tickets, here's the envelope. If you want to buy merchandise, like there's shirts and of course the light sticks, you go over there. And the lines were super fast. And this is like right before the concert series. And it was, I won't say it was like a packed concert, but it was still pretty full. And the fact that they were like, okay, we're done. People were lining up for photo ops. And there was no there was no stanchions, there was no lines. Everyone just knew how to line up. Just phenomenal. And I even joked about it where this is a running joke with my friends. I may have formed a little crush on one of the singers. Of course, it's most likely unrequited for sure. And I know that I'm not gonna be like, we're destined to be together. No, it's not gonna happen. I'm just someone who went, but I just think it's fun if I can, next time I go to the concert series, I'll be supporting her because she's my bias. That's gonna be my running joke. But yeah, if you guys heard of Magenta, she's one of the lead. She's a vocalist in the group, and I think she's one of the. Is it a bassist or one of the people on the guitars? I don't know what she plays, but the reason why I formed a little crush on her was because when we went to the concert series, we were in sort of like the back left corner of the stadium, or whatever place it was taking place. That's such a weird thing to say. And it was funny because when they came out, you saw that, you know, of course, you know, music's playing and stuff, but she had direct eyesight for us because she was on our side, and then there was like 2 on our side and then 2 on the other side, and they were on this boat that just came out. You can look up videos of this. It just came out, and she looked over in my direction, and I swear, I mean, it's kind of I kind of joke about this, but I could have sworn she was looking at me because everyone was like pushed to the front trying to like be part of the crowd, but there was like a gap like behind me that went all the way to the gate, and then there's people sprinkled about. I took a step back so I was away from the crowd, and I could have sworn she looked at me like 5 times. I know, delusional, don't worry. But like, and my friend of course was like even like ribbing me like, oh my gosh, dude, like you're delusional. She wasn't looking at you, she was looking at the crowd. But here's where I will say is like the funniest part. There was someone in front of me, like another concert goer. He turned around, and I kid you not, this is when I was like, we were looking at each other. He saw that she was looking at me and I was looking at her, and of course I was going crazy. I was like, yeah, which I love K-pop, so it was good vibes all around. But I could have sworn he stood in front of me to block me from looking at her. And I'm like, look, I know she was just probably not looking at me. This is delusional, right? I'm not, don't worry, I'm not a craze fan. Of course, this is definitely a parasocial relationship for sure. But I just thought it was so funny. This guy like stood in front of me and blocked me because I could swear it wasn't because he wanted to get a better view of her. He saw me and moved in front of me. And I think that's like the funniest thing. But yeah, no, but overall the concert was great. The crowd, I think, and I even was talking to my friend who has been to a lot of K-pop concerts before. He said the vibes were there and the crowd was awesome. That's why the concert felt so alive, the concert hall. And I have to agree, like, you like to joke about like, oh yeah, it's like in anime especially, where it's like, yeah, we gotta support our idol. But actually being there with the music on full blast, and I have been to concerts before, like normal concerts too, but it's just different because I went to what was it, Earth Wind and Fire on Earth Day. Amazing, same thing. It's just a great time. But if the concert goers are all in unison, like singing along, shouting, you know, yeah, like that kind of vibe, it makes it so much better. And that's all it was. It was just the vibes were there. And that one regret of me not going the first time, now that I went with my friends, so my friends were also there, and I looked over at my friend and we both bought light sticks, and we're all just pumping our arms in the air like, yeah, KWER, or like we were just saying queer, because it's just, I feel like queer is kind of like a fun thing to say, even though you're supposed to say it the other way. Because I think when I think of queer, I think of quirky. You know what I mean? And the way that this band got their name, from what my friend has been telling me, because he's the K-pop expert, is it's the 4 letters of a keyboard. Because they used to be streamers, surprisingly enough, Korean streamers, and then they got got invited to become idols from an agent that scouted them out. Which I even think that's even cooler. And the fact that like my quote-unquote bias, my little crush, celebrity crush here, her name is Magenta. That's her stage name. But I did some research into, I'm just going to say queer from now on, just because it's just going to simplify it instead of saying the 4 letters. But queer, I was looking into them, and they even like did offline TV. They had a collab with them, which I know them. I know those guys. I know Toast and Michael Reeves and Lily P2. Like, I know all of them, which is really fun to see that the concert that I went to happened to be also connected to the streamers I watch. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It was just so much fun. And the fact that I went and just had a great time, and I was looking back, and this is okay. This will also make you. This is kind of awkward, but look, I liked Magenta because I also thought she was the most charismatic on stage in terms of like being sort of silly. Like she was bantering with them, and I thought she was actually kind of cool on stage. I'm not gonna lie, but I also like saw that she posted because I followed the band. She like did a cosplay because she's apparently a big anime fan of Reze from Chainsaw Man, especially because the movie's coming out. And I went, well, fuck, I'm a big Chainsaw Man. Well, I'm like, she's literally like everything I like, she likes, and it's and I'll conclude this point to like not make it weird, but I was telling my friend this. I know it's never gonna happen, and I said the only way it happens is if the moon blows up. Then there's a chance I have a chance with her, you know. If the moon blows up, not in the Koro Sensei type of way, like Assassination Classroom, where it's a crescent moon. Now I'm saying the entire moon is destroyed. That is the only way I'm gonna get with her, or be with her. I get with her. That's such a weird thing to say. Have a relationship with her. I don't like saying that anymore. Like I used to say things, but yeah, no. To be in a relationship with her, it would literally be, I have to make the impossible possible, and that's not happening. But what I will say is one lesson I learned from going, especially with the concert, is I now know, and especially with what we were talking about earlier with the TwitchCon situation, I know how parasocial relationships work now. Especially because like the fact that it was just like it was like just a couple hours, and I already like formed a crush on this girl I knew nothing about before the concert. I just listened. I knew their song. I didn't know anything about the idols, and I was already like head over heels. But I also am smart enough to know it's not gonna happen, dude. Don't be weird. You know what I mean? But I understand how people can form parasocial relationships, and I now know sort of a little insight of someone who isn't like me, who doesn't know better, who isn't smart enough to know better, to know that it's all an act, that, you know, maybe even if there's some accuracy to the way they present themselves on the stage, like, you know, their stage, how they present themselves on stage versus how they really are, like, off the stage. Like, I also know, even if it's the same, if they don't change who they are, which it's probably not likely, you know, it's just, you have to be very careful, because then you start fantasizing and have these, well, what's the word, delusions of what life could be. Like this person, I think, and this is also like a point too that I was telling my friend about. This isn't a friend I went to South Korea with. This is another friend in the US that I was talking to him about my trip. But I was basically saying how I now understand how people can become so obsessive. If they have a screw loose and you go to this concert and feel like they change your life, you now are deluded to thinking the only thing that can change your life and make your life better is the involvement of this idol or celebrity. And now I know. Now I now know. And I mean, it's also a crazy thing. Like, you know, remember what happened to Billie Eilish? Or Eilish? With the fan grabbing her. Or it wasn't even a fan, I think. It was just the deranged person grabbed her, and then they had to force him off, you know? Like, push him away. Like, that, I now sort of understand why these things happen, especially if you're not in a great place in life, especially if you're mentally disturbed, you know? So, but overall, like, again, it's just, I'm more here. I just had a great time. It was super fun. Bought a light stick, and the one thing though I will say that like upset me, and I was pissed off. I was like, dang it, I should have gotten a shirt. I was broke, but I kind of wanted to buy a shirt now to celebrate the concert series I'm going. And so I'm like, oh, I know that it's their world tour, so they're gonna have showings in the US, right? And then I went to check, and they're everywhere except for Florida. Every major city except for Florida. And I'm like kicking myself because I'm like, damn it. Hopefully in the next concert series they'll expand and maybe Orlando could be a hub, because Orlando surprisingly is really good for events like conventions and whatnot, especially because we have the theme parks here. But man, I'm just sort of like, okay, maybe I'll rerun South Korea and hopefully they play in South Korea again, because then I can go see them. But what I will say too is what's nice about at least South Korea is you actually have public transportation that will take you directly to these venues, as opposed to the US where you have to drive. So maybe I'll hold off and go when they're in South Korea again, because I also like the vibes there, because the fan base, you know, it was amazing. Just overall a great fan experience. So thank you for everyone putting the event together, especially I want to give the flowers to eventually I want to give the flowers especially to the event staff, because there were a lot of people there, but they were very nice, they were very concise, and very made sure everyone was exiting in the right place, answering any questions, you know, making sure that, you know, the lights were put on, and at least we were set up for a great experience. And then when the idols came out, of course, thank you, QWER or Quer. Thank you guys for giving me my first ever K-pop concert. It really made the experience so great to be in South Korea and actually experience that. You know, like kind of like if you haven't been to a K-pop concert, it's kind of like Golden when you're watching K-pop Demon Hunters. Like where the fans, like it's almost like everyone is united and we're all having a great time. We're united behind this awesome soundtrack with awesome people singing it. And it's just the room, it's hard to describe unless you're physically there. The room just made my heart grow 3 times bigger. That's what I'll say. But yeah, like definitely do a concert if you have the chance, a K-pop concert. Yeah, I don't know how it is outside of South Korea yet, but for sure South Korea, they know what's up. they definitely do. And yeah. Yeah, so what next? So I'll pivot and just say this. One thing that is something, especially after going to this K-pop concert and realizing, hey, they used to be streamers, that also kind of motivated me to get back into streaming. To the point where I made a vow to myself. I'm like, look, I have a lot of work to do and lots of catching up to do especially when it comes to my job, because I took vacation, I took time off. Once I get all this situated, I'll start streaming again, which is why I'm streaming today. One thing that I want to do going forward is I want to sort of change the way I do streaming. Instead of sort of playing video games or, you know, IRL live streaming, which I was going to start in September. That was sort of a goal I wanted to do. Recent events have made me postpone that idea. I don't want to stream right now just because of the current climate when it comes to streamers, especially because of how unsafe everything is right now. Not only for my protection, but the friends I'm with, especially. I think security and privacy are more important than ever. But one thing I want to do is I want to just start streaming casually. And I know my schedule is going to be a little bit weirder now, because I'm going to be streaming at random points in the day now, as opposed to a consistent schedule where I stream at this time every single time. But the way I'm going to remedy this is every week, usually it'll be a couple days before the start of the next week, I will be posting a schedule. I will be adhering to that schedule unless I am not. In that case, I will let you know on Twitter or on my YouTube community page. I want to make streaming work, and so far I've had my ups and downs, but I really think I have what it takes to become a really good streamer. The only thing I'm missing is consistency and just hitting the start streaming button. That's what I feel like I'm missing. Especially when it's just as simple as just hitting the start streaming, or just posting videos on YouTube. So today sort of marks sort of that change, and seeing how what I really want is to build communities, especially in this day and age where everything seems a little bit bleaker and darker, especially with everything going on. Like, I like to just boil it down to civil unrest, all the civil unrest going on, and it definitely affects the atmosphere and those around me. And therefore, if you affect those around me, it affects me. I want to do my best to create a community where, like I've mentioned before, I want people to feel safe. Whether that's on YouTube or Twitch, I want you to come along and join my streams, because that is sort of my aspirations as a creator. Is I want to invite you guys to have a good time. And whether we talk about anime or manhwas or webtoons, which I've been obsessed with recently, I want to be there and just to talk about this. And I know it's first thing in the morning. I know I don't sound like my usual self, but trust me, I may not sound like the best streamer right now. I'm not sound entertaining because I'm just yapping at this point. I'm just saying whatever. Like, this is spur moment stream. I had nothing planned. I'm just wanting to talk about things that happened to me recently, like my South Korea trip, things that happened at TwitchCon, and now what I'm thinking about for future streaming, But what I will say is, going forward, the big thing I want to change is my consistency and just getting better at talking. Because the more I talk, the more I stream, the more content there is, And I want to get to a point where I become successful through helping people. And the way I feel like I'm able to help people is by being a good person in my daily life, but also making others people's day, whether it's you had a tough day at work or school, like I mentioned before, and you're able to take a break from that and just watch me being goofy on stream, the same way Moist Critical does, or the same way that, Ludwig or Sea-Dog VA does. That's sort of the vibes I want, where my community can come back, and instead of arguing with me or arguing with others in the comment section or the chats, both Twitch and YouTube chats, they just come for the vibes. You know what I mean? And that has been my goal day one. I still think that is very much a pillar of what I want to achieve with streaming. And it's going to be, I will say, it's an uphill battle, especially because I took a break and now I have no consistency. People don't know when to watch me. That is going to be my biggest hurdle. But what I will say is, going forward, I'm going to make those changes. And I'm excited. I am excited for the future, because it will mean sort of more involvement on my part for streaming. But also, surprisingly, and maybe creators have said this before, I have a 9-to-5 job. I really do. I have a full-time job. And streaming to me is almost like an escape for me too, where I can take a step back and I can just stream like normal, and it will help me relax a little bit, if you know what I mean. Like, every time I stream and just talk with you guys, that's also a break to be myself and not have to put on a face at work. I can relax and just hang out. And whether it's hold up my Rimuru mug or, hold up my light stick I got from my K-pop concert, I'm able to relax in my own space and build my own space. So honestly, can't go wrong with that. I don't have too much to complain about that. It's just good vibes. And the fact that, like, I don't have headphones on right now, I'm just having background music play. I believe this is Nud Cry soundtrack from Genshin Impact, which, speaking of, I played a little bit of Nud Cry. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it's kind of disappointing right now. Maybe it's because it's slow, but I'm not feeling Nud Cry. It's just a lot of tedious tasks, and all the interesting stuff I feel like they're trying to save for later acts, which I get. But it's the same thing I felt about Natlan. I'm like, come on, you could have done something more instead of all these menial tasks. Like, I know it's gonna be hype later, but come on. So I'm kind of waiting for more of Nogcry to come out so I can play more of it. Maybe when it fully comes out, the nation fully comes out, so I can just grind it out and play it, because then that'll be fun. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what ends up happening. I know I've been yapping for 50 minutes now, 53 minutes. Oh my gosh, so much time has passed. But sorry, I just had a lot of things I wanted to get off my chest, especially with the streaming incident. I'm gonna edit that and post that maybe tomorrow. Yeah, that'll sort of be my goal. Maybe not streaming, maybe not a video every day, but maybe what I'll do, well, okay, the goal is stream a video every day just to be consistent. That's sort of like my ultimatum. But what I'll try and do, at least momentarily for now, to at least give myself the chance to catch up and get back into the routine of streaming, is what I'll do is I'll stream Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, which the schedule is on my community tab of when those times are going to be. But what I'll also do is I'll edit these down to like shortened VODs I'll post on my channel, and I'll post them on like, say, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And then we're making a JoJo Lands one, Indomitable and I. So that's going to be coming out too. So maybe I'll throw that on Sunday. And then, so that way, we're fully caught up. And there technically is a video all day. Just 3 of those days are just streams, and then the others are shortened VODs of those streams, you know? Just so I can get into a routine of posting. Because I made it. I did make it. The fact that I got, you know, over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube is still a flex. Like, I remember when I thought 100 subscribers on YouTube was a reach. Like, genuinely, I thought that was gonna be impossible to do. And 1,000 subscribers later, I'm still shocked. I almost feel unworthy of having it, especially because I haven't been posting lately. But that just goes to show consistency pays off. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You know what I also realized? Maybe the reason why I'm also not seeing anyone pop in right now, at least stream on YouTube, is because it's a Monday morning. I totally forgot that. Yeah, because I am, so if you want to know something fun about my full-time job, my days off are, because of the nature of my job, it is inconsistent from the regular 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. My work day is from, and this is gonna sound weird, okay? It's very weird. My Monday is Friday. So my first day of the week is Friday, Saturday, and my weekend, or the last 2 days before my weekend, are Monday and Tuesday. So Wednesday and Thursday are my Saturday and Sunday. It is so weird and backwards. It throws off my week every single time. Because today, it's Monday, but it feels like my Thursday. Because I've worked for 4 days. So, yeah, I know. It's weird. But trust me, there are some jobs that need you to do that because of operational needs. And so if you are still in school and you're thinking you're gonna go into the workplace like in a couple years, just pay that in mind. Sometimes you'll get the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, but sometimes you won't. And some of the jobs that are available do not give you time off for holidays, so you gotta make your own holidays. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. That is very much a reality. Yeah, I know. I kind of got into the end of like mainly what I want to talk about. Oh yeah, I guess I can talk about like sort of like a little bit about, like, this is a little bit of a rant, but after going to South Korea twice, I still think it is astonishing that we do not have public transportation the same way South Korea does. because the amount of convenience, the amount of like just the amount of just I'm just gonna say convenience. I'm gonna say convenience. The amount of convenience that you get from having public transportation. When we went to the concert hall for our K-pop concert, that was like an hour and a half of a trip, and we had to jump a couple of trams. But for the most part, it was a very smooth ride, and it told us exactly where we needed to go. The fact that we don't have that, like, yes, I know New York has the subway, but nationwide, imagine hopping on and saying, hey, like, I used to live in Northern California, and this was like a conversation I was having back then. I wish we had like a bullet train that went from like NorCal to SoCal, because the amount of friends I had in SoCal, that would be awesome to be like on a weekend. I'd be like, hey, it's summer vacation. Do you guys want to hang out? And all it would take would be like an hour and a half bullet train. Like, just take an hour and a half trip to SoCal. Bring your backpack, maybe pack some snacks or just yourself. And then when you're done with the day, like around like maybe like 8:30, just take the train back and you're back before 10 p.m. Like, the amount of convenience that would have for just visiting my friends, going to Disneyland, I could do that in a day and do it so often, where I could buy a season pass. Like, you know how much money we could funnel into major cities, even more so, or provide job security for people who live far away that don't have to worry about commute. If they take like this well integrated public transportation system that they do have in South Korea to get to their jobs on time, people could live far away from their workplace, earn enough to live away, and not have to like, you could also spread out, so you can spread the wealth a little bit more for middle class families. That is like one thing that like I've talked to my friend about this, and I'm not even the most political person, but I like to joke with my friends about this because some of my friends are very political and hyper politicized, or like to talk about hyper politicized topics. I'm not. I just don't think it's very constructive in the long run when it comes to just hanging out and talking. But the one thing I will unite with my friends on is definitely the public transportation sector, because, you know, if we do get a handle on that, it becomes phenomenal. Like, the amount of work we're able to do. Because again, you help the common man, you help the common person, the family person, the common lady, you know, the common girl, I guess. Like, anyone who needs, and especially with dual incomes right now, and especially with, you know, apartments skyrocketing, you don't have to upcharge apartments now because the demand isn't there anymore. So you can lower prices for apartments and people can live farther away without stressing about the commute to work. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've always been a huge advocate of it. It's weird. I'm not that political of a person, but when it comes to simple things like public transportation, I go crazy. That's one thing that's a hill I will die on. That California and the nation as a whole needs public transportation. Because imagine a bullet train from California, like, or not even California, from Seattle in Washington, the state of Washington. You go all the way down to SoCal. LA takes 3 hours. Then from LA all the way to Florida, 6 hours. Imagine that trip. And all you need to do is hop on a bullet train and it takes you straight there. That is something that I wish we had. We do not. Especially because they have, even like in Seoul, they had express trams. So there were express trams that would skip certain stops to make the route faster for people. So you can hop on the express tram and it will take you to faster places. So yeah. Yeah, overall, yeah, South Korea has just been amazing. Again. So, ooh, I got a text message from someone. I don't recognize this number, but they sent me a phone number, or they sent me an image, so I'm gonna have to check that later off stream. But yeah, I guess we've been talking for a little bit more than an hour. This is sort of just a test to be like, hey, I'm back. Wanted to talk about the Twitch drama. Wanted to, you know, share my experience in South Korea a little bit. I'll talk more about my South Korea because we did a lot. And then talk about my channel and where we're gonna go from there. So just the 3 main points. I just like to yap a lot. But yeah, definitely future. I'm gonna definitely practice talking more. That's sort of thing I want to work on, especially with streaming. And just get used to it. Just get used to a schedule. Even if it moves, even if it adjusts every week, I want to get used to a schedule. And my goal is, I used to be like, I need to stream at least 2 hours or, you know, 3 or 4. But for the sake of like my schedule nowadays, I'm gonna stream as long as I can. And if I can at least do an hour, that's now my new goal. So we're over an hour, so I'm gonna end stream today. But thanks for watching, guys. Let me know how you like this sort of format. Do you want to see kind of more talks like this? Yeah, maybe I'll game Genshin Impact a couple of times, or Wuthering Waves, get back into that. But for now, I just want to get back into just chatting and just work on becoming more of a variety streamer more than anything. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys on Wednesday for next stream. Thank you.